Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the first edition of the brand new Middle of the Road podcast. My name is John Thomas Hill, and on this podcast, we'll be taking a look at politics from a moderate perspective. Sometimes we will critique and criticize the Republicans. Sometimes we'll talk about where the Democrats have got it wrong. And in some cases, we may very well talk about where both sides are wrong. And why, and this is going to be a future podcast, why we need a new way of thinking when it comes to our government. So that third parties and even fourth or fifth parties can come in and have a say in what's going on in our government. But today I wanted to talk about the current situation politically, especially in the days of the coronavirus. As it stands right now, we have well over 3 million, close to 4 million people infected, and 150,000 people who have died of the coronavirus here in the United States. It has been 4.5 months since this really took off. It's been roughly 6 months since we started really seeing this virus emerge in the United States. And whether or not you are a Republican or a Democrat, I think you have to realize that we have not handled this nearly as well as we should have from the very start. Now, normally in a situation like this, I'm not much for putting blame on people. I'm not expecting people to be perfect in a situation like this. This is, as the word has been used so often, it's almost become cliche. We're in unprecedented times right now. So it would be very difficult to assess what Obama would have done, what George W. Bush would have done, what Bill Clinton would have done, what George Bush Sr. would have done, or Reagan or any of the other presidents before Trump would have done. But I think it's safe to say they would have done a much better job than what Trump has done. This has been a failure of leadership on an epic scale that will be remembered for decades to come. Now, it's easy to go, oh, well, John, you're just attacking Trump because you don't like Trump. Truth be told, I don't really care for him at all because, well, he's got a history of not exactly being on the up and up on things. But take that aside for a second and look at just how he's handled the coronavirus. Regardless of anything he's done in the past, I think this disqualifies him from ever holding the office of the presidency ever again after his term is up. This has been one of the worst times in American history when we've needed a really good leader, that we've really needed someone to step up to the plate and to be someone who can be there when we need them to be. That hasn't happened here. First of all, when this first came out, he denied it, called it a hoax, a Democratic hoax, even though there was more than enough evidence this was building toward a crescendo that would strike in middle of March and would grind everything to a halt. Had he responded to the initial intelligence reports in early January, we could have been on top of this 2 months before it really blew up. Now, would that have necessarily meant that we could have avoided what happened? Not necessarily. It might have kept us from being as bad as we are. The problem is, he was so focused on his reelection that he failed to understand that this was a true test of his ability to be president in a crisis situation. He should have foregone any thought of running for president right now. He should have said, you know what? I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to focus on being president of the United States, doing my job, and I'll let people decide for themselves on the way I handle this if I deserve re-election or not. This was an opportunity to just prove, hey, I can do this job. Right here was the prime opportunity to prove he deserved re-election, and he's failed it. The vast majority of other countries have a handle on this. Not every single one of them has a perfect handle on it. We're seeing spikes in Australia. There's issues in England. And there are issues in other countries. But primarily, most of the industrialized world has a handle on this. Except us. We have allowed ourselves, unfortunately, to go down the road of conspiracy-minded freaks who twist and turn the truth into something they can spin to make you think that the devil is out to destroy America and all this. Well, the truth of the matter is, the ones that are complaining the most about, or the ones who are spinning these conspiracy theories, are the ones that are actually the devil. Maybe not in literal terms, but in figurative terms. They are the ones who are doing a disservice to this country. They're the ones who have ruined what should have been a well thought out plan, because they put into power, because of their conspiracy mongering and their pandering to the low.